finally found the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy. You could never bother me. Yes, I'm a fuck with the ball, yeah. I finally found the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy. You could never bother me. Yes, I'm a fuck with the ball. Let me tell you how I know. I had to get up off the floor. I had to get it out the mud. I had to finally let it go. I know my mama told me so, but she could never really know that when a boy was getting older, that his mind was getting sober, yeah. But I'm getting closer now. I had a church, but I closed it down. Had to reverse the emotions. I had to apologize. Selling eternity, willing to die. I was just living a lie. Walking by faith and ignoring the sight. Better off rolling the dice. And what I'm saying is that I'm living and I've learned. I've given and I've earned enough of my concern. And if I'm living, then I'm living on my terms. Call it a lesson learned, but it's finally been confirmed. I finally got the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy. You could never bother me. Yes, I'm on fuck with the ball, yeah. I finally found the agency to live in my authenticity. Ooh, I got my own autonomy.
What's up, family? Welcome in. I hope y'all are excited about this conversation tonight because I am. It's been one incredible week. Our channel has grown incredibly this week. I don't know if you noticed, but I think Friday we were at 6,606 subscribers, and as of now we're at 7,861 subscribers. And that was our Friday video, which is our first video to within a week jump to 20,000 views. So that has been absolutely incredible. But then of course we had yesterday. I was on the damn network twice. So I was on with Chris that morning for Sci-Fi Saturday, which we had an exceptionally good time in spite of the tech gremlins. And then I was also back on with him that evening for one hell of a call-in show where I think we both had just an incredibly good time. And then, of course, we had our Sunday sessions today, which was awesome. This was one of the first ones where we've had someone helping with the opening, the closing, the support, and the news. Even had some special music today, so that was awesome. And now we're getting ready for this conversation. And then after this, as soon as I get done with this, I have to jump over to the line because I'll be on the After Dark show tonight with Forrest Valkai, which this will be my first time on with Forrest during a call-in situation. So this is that's going to be awesome. So we're not gonna belabor the time too much tonight. I do want to say, if you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the alert notification bell, consider joining, supporting, connecting with this community channel content in any way that makes sense for you. And then of course, share this stream because I'm I'm positive this is going to be helpful for somebody. So if you're a content creator, if you know somebody else who's a content creator, if you know someone who's interested in getting into content creation, then this is going to be a really good conversation for them to get into. Hey, Stephanie. Oh, that's going to be awesome. That is awesome. All right, y'all. Well, let me go ahead and are y'all ready for Jason? Y'all ready for Jason? So I'm going to go ahead and bring Jason up on stage. Jason, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm a bit itchy. I've been spreading insulation all day. So I feel like I either got a really strange STD or a sunburn or both. Other than that, though, I'm good.
Oh, man. Awesome. Well, let's give a little backstory about how this conversation came into be. Of course, you and I were doing Bible study with the next pastor together for the book of Exodus. And that's when you really talked to me about, hey, maybe we can do something for content creators. And so if you wouldn't mind, man, give us a little bit into your mind of why you think this is a valuable conversation. And I do want to call out that Mr. A.T. Coffee says great whiskers. Just had to throw that out there for you.
Yeah, whenever I was a truck driver, because I drove tanker and I was often in places that required you to wear a respirator, I couldn't have a beard. And I really like having a beard. So I had to shave it when I became a truck driver. So ever since I got out of the truck, like my sole focus in life has now been on my beard. I'm going to let the podcast go, break up with my girlfriend, kick my dog out, and just focus all of my attention on my beard. No, I'm really proud of my beard. It came back nice and full, and it makes me happy, and it's soft. Despite having chunks of fiberglass in it a few hours ago, it's nice and soft and fluffy. So, yeah.
Oh man.
So thank you for the compliments, guys. I appreciate that. And my mustache is doing nice too. It's behaving today. It's got these little points on there, and it's, yesterday it was a mess. It was doing all kind of weird things. So.
Oh man. Oh, awesome.
But no, so one of the reasons I wanted to do this is, two reasons really. First, whenever I was starting out, I really didn't know what I was doing, and my audio quality reflected that. And over the years, I got better and better. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I learned some things, but there was still things that were missing. And that was because a lot of information that people really need, some of the fundamentals to getting good audio and video quality, some of that information is left out of these little tutorials and, Q&A videos and things like that. And it's not left out deliberately. It's left out because people like sound engineers and things like that, they take some of it for granted because it's intuitive for them. And so they get really into the technical side of things, what equipment to use and things like that. But other things are sort of overlooked. Yeah. And the other thing is, anytime I'm, watching a YouTube video or listening to a podcast, I see and hear things that aren't right. And my autistic brain, it itches worse than the fiberglass does, okay? It's aggravating. And one of the biggest things I see is with microphone setup. People will go out and they'll spend $100, $200, $500 on a microphone. Yikes. And then they have it set up the wrong way. Yep. And so they're not getting, they're paying all this money to get this microphone, thinking it's going to give them good sound quality, and then they have poor quality because of it. Yes. And it's like, and then, so not only are they setting up their microphone wrong, it's facing the wrong way or something like that. Yep. Or it's in the wrong position, like it's a microphone that does best at like, say 6 inches away from your face or a foot away from your face, and they've got it 3 feet away from them, and it has this really airy quality to it. And it's like, oh yeah, you got this microphone, it should sound great, and it sounds bad. Yeah. And it's not that they bought the wrong thing, they just put it in the wrong place, or they have it facing the wrong way. Yeah. Or they have really great recording equipment, but their environment is bad. And one of the things that's going to blow your mind is that a good microphone does not mean good sound quality. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's kind of jumping the gun a little bit here. Yeah. But I'm going to be saying a lot of things that are going to sound completely nuts to you. Okay. Most of your sound quality comes from your environment, not your microphone.
Ooh, that's good.
A $20 microphone, a $15 microphone can sound better than a $500 microphone if you just switch which room you're recording in. Yeah. 80 or 90% of your sound quality comes from your room, not your mic. A good microphone will give you bad audio if you are producing bad sound. Because all the microphone does is it accurately records the sound. And if you're producing bad sound, a good microphone will produce a bad recording every single time.
Wow.
And that's just all there is to it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so going to the Shure SM7B, which is like Joe Rogan's microphone, that's not going to help you if you're in a bad recording space, okay? Yeah. And getting a $600 or $800 mirrorless camera to stream your video in is not going to help you if you have bad lighting.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. 80% of good video quality is good lighting, not good cameras.
Yeah, man.
A $50 webcam and $40 in lights is better than a $500 camera and bad lighting.
Yeah.
That's, and so what I want is I want to teach y'all things that I have learned over the last decade, a lot of which isn't readily available information.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things can really up your game and drastically improve your sound quality, as mine did about 30 or 40 episodes ago.
Wow.
The sound quality difference was so drastic that I was getting emails from people saying, I don't know what you did, but your sound is way better. And all I did was change places. I was still using the exact same microphone.
Yeah. Okay, so
I moved to a different room of the house, and people started sending me emails about it. It's that big.
Wow.
So yeah, and like that, and that's something that no one on YouTube ever taught me. It's something that I had to kind of learn on my own.
Yes, sir.
So it's one of those bits of information that's overlooked.
Yeah.
So.
No, I like this, and I think that's really a great place to actually start this conversation. Is as a person is getting started, before we even get into tech, systems, software, what are the considerations that we should have about our space before we get started with content creation? What are some things that are red flags in space? What are some and that's for sound and lighting?
Yeah. So, and it's good you said it like that, because purchasing gear, everyone wants to do that. You're like, oh, I want to do this. And so you get on Sweetwater or B&H Photo or Amazon, and you start grabbing stuff. You start buying, and you got packages showing up. Yeah, that's the last thing you do. Okay. Buying the gear is the last thing you do. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing you do is room selection. Because like I said, the recording space matters more than your audio gear. I can make a $15 microphone sound better than a $400 mic by having a good space. And so the first thing is you want a quiet room. Think of the time of day that you're going to be live streaming or recording. Do you have a lot of traffic noise? So like if you're recording at 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, you have to take that into consideration. So a room that's in the front of the house and has big windows is probably the wrong place, because you've got all this noise coming off the street. But at the same time, maybe the room in the back of the house that you have available has a window that overlooks an air conditioning unit, or your neighbor who has kids and they just got a trampoline for their birthday and they're shrieking out there while they're playing. Kids love to shriek.
Yes.
I used to have to work around that because I had a bad recording space. Wow. So you want a room that's quiet. Pick the time of day that you're likely to be recording and just listen to it. Or set up a microphone, turn the gain way up, hit record, walk out of the room. Come back in 45 minutes, shrink that timeline down, and look for spikes in there. And then go back and listen to them. What are those noises? Is it something you can control? Did you accidentally slam a door? Okay, you can fix that. You can just not do that. Or ask your roommate or, your kids or whatever. Hey, mommy's going to be over here recording, so y'all need to be quiet. Go play in this part of the house or whatever. Go listen to your music or, do whatever you do. Or go sell your kids at Walmart, something like that. Yeah, you can tell that I don't have kids anymore. So,
oh man,
see if the noises that you do pick up are something that you can remove, or are they just not loud enough to bother with? Yeah. And if you have a choice of a few different rooms, then try a few different rooms. Do those sample recordings and see which one is generally the most quiet. Because if you have sound coming in, it's really hard to get that noise out of your recordings. If it's a short noise, you can just kind of back up and re-record that section, unless it's a live stream, and then you've got a bus or whatever passing in your recording. But if it's a constant noise, you're kind of stuck with it. That's just going to be your background music, So
Yikes.
get a quiet room. And as far as the size of the room, you can kind of work with that, like maybe have a really big room. And that's cool, but maybe you don't want to use the whole thing. Section off part of it. So behind me, this is actually the backside of a bookcase. I didn't want to use this whole room because, well, this is my bedroom. This is where I sleep. And, if I took all of our stuff and threw it out, my girlfriend would probably have something to say about it.
Yeah.
And so would I. I kind of use this room. So I walled off a section of it with a bookcase and then did all the sound treatment and everything, and this became my recording space. If you have a large walk-in closet that you're not using, that can work. So things like that. But the other thing is things that are in the room. Another mistake that people make is they pick a room, and then they take everything out of it, and then their room sounds like the inside of an airplane hangar.
Yes.
You're talking, and it sounds like you're inside of a cave. Well, that's because you took all the furniture out. You know what that couch was doing? It was absorbing sound waves. Okay, that fake like ficus tree that was in the corner, that was catching sound waves. That was preventing these things, the noise from your voice from bouncing around. Put that stuff back in there. If you're using a walk-in closet, don't take those coats out of there. Leave them in. That right there, that's acoustic treatment that you have for free. Keep it.
Yes.
So those are some things to consider. But once you've got a room, like avoid rooms in the front of the house. Try to get one in the back of the house, and try to get one that doesn't have any windows that are facing any large or any loud sources of noise. No air conditioning units, no screaming children, no alley that has random shootings or anything.
Yeah.
That could make your show more interesting, what's going on with Florida Man today.
Oh, man.
Those considerations, you want it to be quiet. The quieter it is in the beginning, the better. So room selection is the biggest contributor to audio quality, and it's free.
Yeah.
Pick the right room. So that's where you start.
That's awesome.
Before you buy anything, pick a quiet room.
And then you hit this important aspect of utilizing your free acoustic treatment. So if you have that furniture in the room, keep it in there. You got that ficus plant in there, keep it in there. Mm-hmm. Are there other things that people don't think about that could be used for acoustic treatment in some of their rooms that where they feel like, no, I have to go out and buy these panels off of Amazon. That's the only way that I can do it. Are there other things that could be around the house that people could be using temporarily while they're building?
Absolutely. So the first thing to understand with sound is you're really dealing with two different types of sound here, and we'll address them separately. The first one is soundproofing, and this means addressing noises that could come from outside of your recording space. So this is the school bus that passes at 3:30. This is the dog barking next door, or the woodpecker that used to come and bang on the eaves of my house in the middle of every recording. So soundproofing, it means to prevent sounds from getting into your recording space. Okay. Now that is not done with acoustic tiles. These over here, these are acoustic tiles. You also have those little black egg carton foam looking things.
Yes.
That's not soundproofing. That's acoustic treatment. Those are two entirely different things. One is for the sounds from outside the space, and the other is for sound inside the space. Now, soundproofing an entire room is really expensive. You kind of need to rip out the drywall, put in this sound deadening insulation, put up new drywall. You're talking thousands and thousands of dollars for a small room. You don't want to do that. No. So you pick a quiet room. But you're still going to have sounds that come in. So the first thing is your door. And sound is going to come right through your door. but it's not going to come through the door itself. It's mostly going to be coming around the door. That gap underneath between the door and the floor. A lot of sound's coming through there. And around the outside of it, do this. Turn off the lights in your room and then turn on the light in the hallway or the room next door, and then shut your door and look at it. Do you see light coming through around your door? If so, that's where sound's coming through.
That's good. Yeah.
Down below in the description is a link to one of the most important things to buy for soundproofing. It's weather stripping. It's this 1/2 inch wide, 1/8 inch thick foam that's sticky on one side. You put it inside the door jamb, and then you shut the door, and the door closes against it, and there you go. You've now prevented most of that noise from coming through your doorway. The other thing, and there's also a link, is a thing called a door sweep. It's this little piece of plastic. It slides onto the bottom of your door. You cut it to length, and it just blocks off the bottom of the doorway. So that little 1/2 inch or 1 inch gap underneath your door, it'll close that off. So when the door is shut, sound doesn't come underneath your door.
Wow.
Now, if you don't have an AC return in that room, you're going to want to either remove that when you're not using, when you're not recording, or leave the door open. If you don't want to do that, get a towel, roll it up, throw it there at the bottom of the door, do your live stream, and when you're done, just kick it off to the side and open the door. It's free. Everyone has an old faded stained towel. Take that thing, roll it up, shove it down there. You're good. A hoodie, a sweater, whatever, Someone's giving you a hoodie that you don't like.
Man.
Use it for soundproofing, okay? And once you do that, your door is pretty much soundproof.
Wow.
Loud noises can still come through, but the majority of common sounds will be absorbed by that little strip of weather stripping and by the towel or the hoodie or the door sweep that you put on the bottom. And for $20, you fixed, 80% of the noise that's going to come through that door.
Wow.
And you're good. Okay. And those are noises you're not going to have to deal with in your recording. And the other source of sound is going to be your windows. Any window you have, sound is going to come through. Get blackout curtains. They have sound dampening curtains. They're really expensive. Get blackout curtains. And get the little curtain rods that are sort of like 3-sided. So they go over the window and then they come back toward the wall. Those sort of like C-shaped ones.
Yeah.
Get those and make sure they're a few inches wider than the actual window frame. And then get a 1-piece blackout curtain. You don't want the 2-piece ones where they're going to come together in the middle, because then they'll just separate and the sound is going to come right through there and you just wasted money. Get a 1-piece curtain that's wider than you need. Put the thing up and make sure it's tucked all the way up to the walls. Most of the sound that's coming in from that window is going to hit that. And if you use blackout curtains, those things are typically 3 layers, and one of those layers is thick black felt.
Wow.
Felt is amazing for dampening noises. So throw up some blackout curtains, and they look really cool. So pick whatever color would go nice in your room, put them up. No one's going to know that they're actually there serving a purpose. They'll look nice and pretty and decorative. But also check to see if your windows are closing all the way. Because a lot of times, most windows now, the top section can slide down, and so you can reach out and clean and stuff, but no one ever does that. A lot of times they come undone, and you got about a 1/2 inch gap at the top that you don't realize you have. Mm-hmm. Look at it. Is it partially open? If so, close the damn thing. You're letting bugs in. That's why you've got bugs. That's why your air conditioning bill keeps going up. Close the window all the way.
Yes.
A month after I got my house, I walked around and I found that I had 4 windows that had a 1/2 inch gap at the top of them.
Wow.
And I'm like, why is it like that? Check your windows, close them. If you're still getting some noise, go to the hardware store and buy about a 2-inch thick piece of insulation. What's that stuff called?
It's like the board type kind.
Yeah. Now I can't think of the name of it.
Right.
Styrofoam.
Yes.
2-inch thick. Think a 2-inch thick sheet of styrofoam insulation. Bring it home, cut it to size, and slide it into that window whenever you're recording. Now, they come in like a 4x8 sheet. So unless you have a really long pickup like mine, you're not going to be able to haul the entire sheet home with you like that. So take your measurements of your window, go over to the store, buy it, and bring a box cutter. Cut that thing down to size so you can fit it in your car. But make sure that whenever you cut it, it's bigger than what you actually need, because it would suck to cut it a little too small and then it doesn't really fit and it's not going to do its job. So make it too big.
Yeah.
Get it home, and then cut it so it fits snugly inside your window. And you only have to put it up whenever you go to record. If you have that and some blackout curtains, no sound's coming into those windows, or at least nothing that's going to be picked up by your microphone.
Yeah.
And so if you do that, just seal up your door with $15, $20 worth of stuff off Amazon, some blackout curtains, and maybe a sheet of foam insulation or styrofoam insulation to temporarily put up inside the window frame, then you're all set. You've pretty much soundproofed your room. The thickness of the walls and the insulation in those walls is going to do the rest of the work for you.
Wow.
And you're good. And then you get to move on to what's called acoustic treatment, which is dealing with sound inside the room, which is your voice. And this is the one that people struggle with. I see studios set up all the time that are set up wrong. They get all this egg carton foam, and they typically put it up behind them. It's not doing anything back there. The stuff, like anything back here, is worthless.
Wow.
What you want to, like, where you want to put up your acoustic treatment is in front of you, like off camera. So wherever you're going to be sitting, and where you got your microphone and all that, sit down like you would for your live stream and just look straight ahead. That's where you want it, because that's where your voice is going. So what's happening is your voice, it leaves your mouth, it goes forward, and it kind of radiates outward. And every hard surface it hits, it bounces off of. And then it comes back and it hits your microphone again. And then it hits more hard surfaces and it bounces off again and again and again. And if it's doing this, you can have this weird, echoey, airy quality to your recording. And it sounds bad.
Yep.
But if you have some stuff set up in front of you, like past your microphone, past your computer and your monitors and all that, put something back there. And if you do, then what's going to happen is when your voice passes the microphone, it gets picked up. It passes your camera. And then it hits these other things and it dies. Yeah. You want your room to be acoustically dead.
Yeah.
So when the sound wave comes out, it hits the diaphragm of your microphone, it gets picked up, and that's it. Your voice dies after that. And it doesn't come back again and again and again. So putting it in the right place is one of the most important things, and most people do it wrong. They put it behind them because they think it looks cool.
Yep.
And you know what the audience thinks of that? This big content creator, he was this gamer. He actually did a poll. It was probably about 5 years ago. He was asking people basically what they thought of the egg carton foam. And he had 4 options on his poll. I'm a content creator and I think it looks good. I'm a content creator and I think it looks bad. I'm not a content creator and think it looks good. I'm not a content creator and it looks bad. Most of the people who said it looked good, they were content creators.
Wow.
Everyone who was not a content creator thought it looked stupid.
Yep.
You are the only person who thinks that egg carton foam looks cool. Your audience, they all think it looks dumb. Okay?
Oh, man.
That's all there is to it. So don't put it behind you. It doesn't need to be seen. Okay.
Man.
Now, if you do have problems with the sound, bouncing around your room, you can put some stuff behind you. Okay. And we're going to get into that in a little bit when we start talking about, the actual stuff to use.
Yeah.
So the first thing, throw down a rug on your floor. If you don't have carpet, put a rug, okay? Because your floor is a giant, hard, flat surface, and sound is going to bounce off it. If you have a hard desk like mine, get a desk pad, a little desk mat, like a felt one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Lay that. It doesn't have to. You don't need to cover every surface. I see some people do that, and they have to cover every square inch. You don't need that, okay? If 75% of your desk is covered by a desk pad, you're good. You've now acoustically treated your desk.
I've got to stop you for a moment because this is one that I've never even thought of. Like, I've never thought of the desk being problematic, and yet most of our desks are these flat, hard areas that the sound is going to bounce off
And
of.
it's right in front of you.
Wow.
Your desk could potentially be worse than your wall.
Man.
Yeah, and so, and that's the thing. Get on Amazon, $20, desk pad. Get a felt one, throw it down. Done.
Man.
It looks cool. It keeps your desk clean, and it's a giant mouse pad, and it also removes sound. I'm in a really small space. I didn't want to devote an entire room of my house to this, so I'm in a thing that is the worst for recording. It's 3 feet wide, and it's 4 feet long, and it's 6 feet tall. I'm in basically a box that my girlfriend and I built. When we first built this thing, and I sat down and started talking, it had the most horrendous echo.
Wow.
It sounded atrocious. 30 minutes later, you have the sound that people were literally commenting on.
Man.
The sound you have now.
Yes.
A desk pad and some acoustic tiles, and not even many of them, just a handful. And then I was getting a faint bit of dirty noise from the bookcase behind me. And so this back here, this big gray thing that this painting is, embedded in, that's one giant thing of basically acoustic treatment. And so now let's talk about what you can actually use.
Yes.
Because I've got 3 different things, or technically 4 different things in here that I'm using. So one is the desk pad. This one's a vinyl one, but it's soft. And when I put it in, I could actually hear a difference. So vinyl desk pad, felt desk pad, anything like that. You throw that down on your desk, there is a noticeable difference. If you have a big open area that you need to treat, a moving blanket. There are things you can buy from Amazon or Sweetwater.com or anything like that. It's called a sound blanket. And it's this thick, insulated, quilted blanket with little grommets in the top, so you can attach like a curtain rod hook, and you can then string it up on a rod and move it around. And it's made to kind of block off sections of a room to dampen the sound. It's just a moving blanket that someone put grommets in. It's the same thing. That's where sound blankets came from. People just started hanging up moving blankets, and it worked really great. So then companies that made moving blankets, they put metal grommets in them and quadrupled the price.
Wow.
Just buy a moving blanket. They're dirt cheap. You can get like a 6-pack on Amazon. Okay, they're great. Get a couple of those, okay? That's actually what divides my recording space from the rest of the room. I have a curtain rod, and I have a moving blanket. And if you need to put little hooks in the thing, and you don't want to pay the extra price for the grommets, which is like 4 times the price, there's a thing called a tarp clip. It's a little plastic clip, and it's made so you can attach it to the edge of a tarp and string up the tarp to a tree whenever you're camping.
Yeah.
You can buy like a 20-pack of these on Amazon for like $10 or something. Get some of those. You clamp them onto the edges of the thing, and the backside of them has a little hole, and you can put an S-hook through it and hang it on a curtain rod.
Wow.
And it's a fraction of the cost of buying a sound blanket. So a curtain rod, some S-hooks, tarp clips, and moving blankets. There you go. And those things, the insulation in them is actually dense enough that it also serves as soundproofing. So if something goes on in the other part of my house that makes a noise that does get through the door, I can't hear it. My girlfriend can be playing video games and like killing demons and stuff, and I have no idea. She doesn't have to turn down the TV because this moving blanket is thick as hell, and it dampens that sound. The other thing, those are two things. That's the you got the desk mat and you've got the moving blankets. Third thing, and that's what's behind me. The acoustic treatment back here on the backside of the bookcase.
Yeah.
Memory foam mattress topper.
Hey.
It's 2 inches thick. Buy it, cut it to size, use some 2-inch wide double-sided tape, and use a lot of it because memory foam is heavy.
Yeah.
And there you go. If it still doesn't want to stay up, get a really thin piece of wood. Go to the hardware store, get a thing that's like 1/2 inch thick and about 1 inch wide. Drill some holes in it, put it up against the wood, put it up against the memory foam at the top and bottom, and just run some wood screws through there.
Yes.
And there you go. So that's what's behind. That's the big gray wall behind me. That's a memory foam mattress topper. I don't know, it was like $30 or something. So yeah, that's the third thing I have in here. Okay.
Man.
And the other thing, the actual tiles, that's what's on the wall beside me. The little hexagons over here. Yeah, that's what these are. It's less than 1/2 inch thick. It's dense felt. These work better than those 2-inch thick foam things that you can buy on Amazon that everyone loves using.
Yeah.
These I tested both. These work significantly better. And I don't even have many. There's about, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 on the wall to the right, and directly in front, there's like another 8 of them in front of me. And no. Yeah, it's like 6 or 8 in front of me. Anyway, so you don't need many, and you don't need to completely cover the wall. There's about 1 foot above the wall that has nothing on it, and everything below these tiles, so below elbow level, is completely untreated. But it doesn't matter, because that's not where my voice is hitting. Your voice, remember, is going straight out.
Yeah.
So you don't need to do the stuff way up at the top and way down at the bottom.
I was going to ask that.
About eye level, and then go up and down about 1 foot. And if it still sounds kind of echoey, expand a little bit. I do have some tiles that are similar to those up on the ceiling, just because this thing is so small. Yeah. And they're just little square tiles, and I got a handful directly above me. And mostly that's there to kind of bounce around the light. But yeah, just that little bit of stuff. Some memory foam behind me, a sound blanket to my left, a desktop, a little desk pad.
Yeah.
And then about 15 of these little thin tiles.
I like those.
And that's it.
Man.
Links to tiles similar to these is in the description below. There's other tiles you can use, some like large rectangular tiles that are a little bit thicker. Those are good, like if you have like larger sections of wall, that you have to work with. There are some that have like these vertical lines in them, almost like grooves. And those can make really cool backgrounds because it gives your wall like a textured look. There are some that have like actual like paintings on them. It looks like works of art. There's actually a link to one of them on Amazon. I think it's like 6 or 8 of them they're rectangular, and they fit together to make like a giant mural. And there's, I don't know, about probably 10 or 15 different designs you can choose from, and there's a whole bunch of others that you can find, on Amazon and other places. And they're sound tile, they're acoustic tiles that have artwork on them or nature scenes or things like that. And so you can set those things up, and it just looks like you have decorations on your wall, but it's also serving a purpose.
Yes.
And it looks way better than those ugly egg carton foam. And most of those foam things you get on Amazon they're not the real ones. They're actually just like this really thin padding foam. It's good for like shipping stuff. It's not the actual acoustic foam that you're meant to use. That stuff is a lot denser. And those things, you really need things that are about 3 or 4 inches for them to be really effective. And then you're kind of crowding in your walls, These things are less than a 1/2 inch thick, and they work better. So also those foamy things, after a while, they start to deteriorate. And anytime you bump into them, all this black powder drops down onto the floor, and you're constantly going to start cleaning them up.
It's like the top of cars used to be. You remember?
And you don't want black snow in your room, okay?
Yes.
It's so gross. After just a few years, you're going to have to rip it all down and buy new ones.
Man.
Buy these things. They're so much better. They come in a bunch of different shapes. You get squares, rectangles, little triangles, trapezoids, all kind of stuff. People actually make like little, geometric designs and stuff out of them, you do that and you're set. So put these things up where you're facing, okay?
Yeah.
Like wherever you're going to be sitting, look straight ahead. That's your most important parts. And go a little bit up and below from that. Yep. And then go out about 45 degrees. That area so whatever you can just kind of see in your main vision, that's the most important things to treat. Things way out in your peripheral is probably not that important. The stuff behind you is, unless you're in a really small space like mine, the stuff behind you isn't going to matter. And if you have some stuff back there, like some plants or something, that's going to do it for you. Couches, pillows. You can just get old blankets. Go to Goodwill. If it's not going to be in the scene, go to Goodwill and buy some blankets and just string them up.
Man.
There you go. $5, and you put an old ugly quilt up there, somebody's grandmother made this thing. She spent hours on it. Put it to good use, There you go. And that right there is going to take your audio quality to the next level.
Wow.
And for the price of a handful of blankets and $30 of felt tiles,
man,
you've done more than any microphone in the world is going to do.
Yep.
And your same microphone will sound entirely different just by getting some good acoustic treatment in your room.
Wow.
And you don't have to spend a lot of money on it.
Nope. Okay, so you've just walked us through a lot of really good stuff, and I hope everybody caught it. One of the biggest things that was impressive to me, because it's a question I've had, because I'm still working on sound treating this area that I'm in. I used to be in an area that was fully carpeted. There was a bed in there, so there were plenty of things absorbing sound. It was starkly clear when I changed locations for recording. My audience knew immediately that you're recording in a different space, and it was not great because I moved from that room with all of that carpet to my garage with a concrete floor and this wooden desk. And so everybody could immediately just hear all of that echo. So I know I've been looking into different ways to treat this room. I have added a rug in here. I've added a blackout curtain to cover the main window that used to be behind me. And we're still doing some other things. One of the things that I was always slow to buy sound treatment material or sound dampening material is because I felt a lot of the things that you were just saying is that there's so much stuff that's out there that's overpriced and that's not even targeted properly. So I hope everybody heard that tidbit that you gave about moving blankets,
Yeah.
If you don't know where to start, go to the moving blankets. Don't buy the fancy one with grommets unless you just got 99 problems and money ain't one. But if money is a problem, start with the moving blankets. But then you did one better than that. Like you took us a step further, because I've always known that blankets are useful, right? You can definitely use blankets to fill up sound and deaden sound. But damn it, I never thought about going to the thrift store.
Yeah.
And like, holy snap, that's smart.
Dude, I grew up poor. If there's a cheaper way to do it, I will find it.
Yes.
Now, one thing I will warn you, whenever you're looking at acoustic tiles, the vast majority will have soundproofing in the description. Tiles don't do anything for soundproofing. The sound outside will go right through these things. It takes the sound of your voice and it kills it. That's what it does. Okay.
Wow.
It doesn't do anything for soundproofing. Just like the insulation you put up in the window or the weather stripping around your door isn't going to reduce the echo in your room. Okay. Those are two entirely different things, soundproofing and acoustic treatment. And one does not really work for the other. With the exception of the moving blankets, that's the only thing that really contributes to both.
Oh man. All right, so let's hit this then. So we got our space. We're getting our space treated. We know what we're kind of doing there. Now, what do we start with? Do we start with a mobile device like a phone or a tablet, or can we use a laptop, or do we need a PC? When it comes to content creation, is it okay to just kind of grow as you go, or do we really need to start with some type of dedicated machine?
Oh, no. So, and hang on. One more point I want to make, because there was all these little things I wanted to get in here. So just as I said earlier, that your environment matters more than your microphone. Your sound quality matters more than your video quality. Just flat out. You can have a blurry, out of focus, 720p resolution webcam, and if you're saying something worth listening to and your audio is decent, people will tune in. But if your sound is bad, I don't care what your camera looks like, people will turn you off. And
so true.
Mostly because bad sound is grating on the nerves. But also a lot of people are watching stuff on their phone screens. And if their internet is kind of crappy, YouTube will cut that thing all the way down to like 480. And most people don't even notice because it's a tiny screen and they're not even looking at it. They're watching something else. They're looking around at other things and they're listening to you. Audio quality matters more than sound quality. So if your budget only permits upgrading one thing or another, upgrade your audio first.
Wow.
Your video can wait. Okay? People will tune out for bad audio. Your video has to look really bad for people to stop watching. And most of the time, they'll just turn their phone over and not look at it. So, yeah.
Dang.
Now, as far as that, you're asking about, do you need some kind of dedicated stuff? Most modern laptops are more than capable of handling, basic video recording and editing. My laptop, I got an M1 MacBook Air, the base model. You can pick them up. You can actually order them off of Walmart for like $600 right now.
Oh, wow.
And they will do everything I need it to do and then some. I can edit 4K video on here all day long and on battery power, and it's fine.
Wow.
There are people out there who are running audio format podcast off their phones. And I don't mean they have all kind of fancy. No, the cheap little earbud headphones that have the inline microphone and their phone, and they're recording and editing podcast off of that.
Wow.
And they're doing it while like underneath a comforter to get good sound quality, like literally just in a hallway with a comforter thrown over their head, recording an entire podcast on their phone, and it sounds good. You don't need to go out and build some $4,000 PC, and don't do that. That's stupid. Okay. Chromebooks, you're going to have an issue with that because they're limited as to what software you can really use. If you already have a Mac or a PC and it's not more than 5 years old, you're probably set.
Wow.
Even if it is, like, up until like 3 years ago, the computer I was using was 11 years old, and I was still running my podcast and YouTube channel off of that.
Wow.
You don't need to go out and spend a bunch of money on a machine, okay? Basic audio and video editing software is fairly cheap. I'll actually tell you, like, there's free stuff you can use that is pretty powerful, will do pretty much everything you need, especially to get started. And it's going to run on some really basic machines.
Wow.
You can run these things off of iPads, So no, you don't spend money building a giant machine. You don't need that. Okay. No, especially if you're just getting started. You're going to blow your budget on a tool you don't need, that you're not going to be able to utilize. Spend that money making your room sound good, and then get a decent mic and camera.
Yep.
And use whatever computer you already have.
Yep.
And then take the extra money and go take your girlfriend out to dinner. All right. Fan noise is a thing, though. If you have a computer that has a loud fan, you either want to put that on the other side of a moving blanket or look at getting something else. Because I see some of these gamers and they got these things that the fans look like that little helicarrier thing off the Avengers. It sounds like a jet taking off.
Yes.
And I can hear them though. Oh yeah, I got this amazing machine for live streaming. No, you don't. It sounds bad. You want a machine you can't hear for live streaming. Okay. I will trade power for silence any day of the week when it comes to content creation. And your listeners will as well. Man. They don't want to hear that noise. Okay. So no, don't buy something fancy.
That's just a great place to drive that point home that you made earlier, that people will put up with bad video. They will not tolerate bad audio. And I don't think that's something that gets stated enough for content creators, but it's so true. And so, because so many, I know even me, my perspective when I think about our audience is viewers. They are viewers. Mm-hmm. But in this video space, you cannot be a viewer without also being a listener. And so that man, I don't think that point has ever been driven home to me as clear as it has been tonight. Now, I do remember when I first started creating content, I used to play background music behind all of my videos. My audience did not like that. And I was a little offended. I'm like, I don't know why y'all don't like the background music. I think I sound sexy when there's background music behind me. But they did not like that. And I had to get out of my feelings and pay attention to what they were telling me. And they were saying no, we want to hear you and we want to hear you clearly. Everything else right now is a distraction. And I think, and I hope that's what our audience is hearing tonight, is that the biggest thing is you really do have to pay attention to what it is that your audience is hearing from you and what they want to hear from you.
Exactly. There's a time and a place for everything. And my show could certainly use more background music. It's a solo show. It's narration. I'm just recounting information and some really quiet, piano in the background, contemplative music, turned down kind of low. Just cool. There's a podcast called Lore by this guy named Aaron Mahnke.
Ooh.
Listen to that. It is a masterclass in matching up background music with a single host narrative show.
Shit.
It's amazing. This dude, he kills it every episode. Okay. But if you're doing a thing, if you're talking, you're trying to engage with your audience and stuff, or you've got some back and forth with a guest and you've got some background music going on, it's probably going to be a distraction. And if your listeners are saying, hey, man, can we ditch the music? And this is a thing that you're getting from multiple people, you should listen. Sometimes you're just going to have a person who nags and you're never going to please everybody. And one person's just like, oh, I don't like your intro music. Look, I had someone, I found some intro music that I really liked. I paid for the thing. I think I paid like $40 or $50 for this intro music. Wow. I really liked it. I put it up there, cool. I'm licensed to use this intro music. I paid to use this intro music. And most of the people thought it was cool. One person was like, I really don't like it. And I'm like, tough.
Yes.
I don't care.
Yep.
But if everyone was coming saying, I don't like, I would consider changing it.
Yep.
Man. So you got to do that. Okay. You gotta listen to your audience, and if a lot of people are saying the same thing, maybe it's a problem and you need to fix it.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
And don't take it personally, because what sounds cool to you, and what actually works, maybe two entirely different things. Okay.
And oftentimes are.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So that's how you got to handle that.
That's beautiful.
And then as far as what you're going to use to do your recording and stuff.
Yes.
So as far as like software goes, in the beginning, don't buy anything. There's free software out there. Don't buy anything. If you're recording, if you're just doing an audio format thing like mine, if you're on a PC, get, I think, Audacity, I believe it's called.
Yes, Audacity. Mm-hmm.
It's not as user-friendly as I would like it to be, but it's free, and it will do everything you need and then some. It's also really popular, so there are a lot of people who do like YouTube tutorials, so you don't have to know how to use it. Just download it, go to YouTube, and ask YouTube. That's what YouTube is there for. It will show you how to use the thing, and you can start recording stuff and, get multiple, get some intro and outro music going, maybe some background music if it's appropriate, you and your guest or whatever. You can record all this, have all these different audio tracks. It'll come out great. Okay.
Yes.
If you're on a Mac, the best thing that you're going to want to use for audio recording is already on there. It's called GarageBand.
GarageBand, yes.
It's on the computer. If you've got an iPad, it's on the iPad.
It's just there.
Get GarageBand. Are there other things you can use? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Since I've started, I've used GarageBand, like 4 or 5 different versions. Because I've been doing this for a decade now. I've used Logic, which is Apple's like top shelf, professional studio, audio editing software. It's several $100. I own that. I've used Adobe Audition?
Yes.
I've used Audacity. I've used several others, okay? Ranging in price from like $10 to $400. You know what I record every episode of my podcast on? GarageBand.
Wow.
Everything that I need to do in podcast format, it does. And then some. It's more than I need. So why bog down with extra features that I'm not going to use?
Yep.
Just get GarageBand. So on a PC, Audacity. On a Mac, GarageBand. Done. For video editing, you got a few different things you could look at. I'm trying to think of some different ones. So if you're on a Mac, iMovie, though actually find the top tier one, Final Cut Pro, to actually be more user friendly. Probably because I actually started editing video on Final Cut Pro before iMovie came out, which kind of shows my age. But I also use like Avid, Adobe Premiere, and a few others. I prefer Final Cut Pro to any of them, but that's just me.
Yeah.
If you're on a Mac and, play with iMovie, if you want something, I don't know, I feel Final Cut Pro is a little more intuitive. It's also a lot more powerful. If you want to upgrade, go with Final Cut Pro. It does everything that Adobe Premiere does, but it's a one-time payment instead of a monthly rental. When Adobe switched to that business model, I dropped all their stuff. I used to own, I actually purchased, Adobe Creative Suite 5, I believe. I paid, I forget how much for the full thing. And when they switched to the monthly rental thing, I ditched all the Adobe software. I don't have any Adobe software on my computer because I'm not going to sit there and pay monthly for something, and never own it. That's just me. But you can use the Adobe stuff. Just know that you're going to pay monthly, and if you ever stop paying, you can't use it anymore. You can no longer open and edit your stuff. It's done. So keep that in mind. There's other stuff out there for video editing. There's DaVinci Resolve. The color grading is really awesome on there. I think that the color grading in DaVinci Resolve is better than anything else out there. The editing on it needs work. You can do everything that all the other software suites can do. It's just the editing in DaVinci Resolve is really clunky, which is common with open source software. These brilliant programmers that come in, they make it, but they don't make it intuitive. They're looking at it from a programmer's mindset, not an end user. So those are the three big ones: DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro, and Adobe Premiere. If you're on PC, obviously you won't be able to use Final Cut Pro. I would suggest get DaVinci Resolve, watch some tutorials, learn how to use it. If you want something more user-friendly and you're willing to pay monthly, then grab Adobe Premiere. If you're on the Mac, either use iTunes or Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro run you about $300, but you get free upgrades for life. So, the Apple software, you buy it, you never, I bought Final Cut Pro, 10 years ago. When a new version comes out, I just tell it to update, and it updates, and that's it. You get a new computer, you just go and re-download it and update it, and that's it. This is the third computer I've had Final Cut Pro on. I've never had to pay a dime since the first time I bought it.
Wow.
So, and same thing with Logic. You buy it once, you're done. So that's another consideration. But you can look around. There are other bits of software out there. I'm sure there's a ton of software available for Mac and PC that's either really cheap or even free. There's one available for the tablets, but I can't remember the name of it. My brother actually uses it, and I cannot remember the name of it, but look for iPad video editing software, and it's going to be one of the top hits. It's, I don't know, $20 or $30 or something, but it's supposed to be is it LumaFusion? I think it's LumaFusion. I think that's a thing. Google that, LumaFusion. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So if you're running a channel on an iPad, grab LumaFusion. Done. Or whatever it's actually called. I can't speak to it. I've seen people use it. It looks amazing. It actually looks a lot like Final Cut Pro. But it's really powerful software. People run entire YouTube channels off of an iPad and LumaFusion. So it'll do what you need to do.
Man.
So yeah. And then as far as streaming,
yes.
The default seems to be StreamYard. Though they're
expensive.
They are worse than the price of eggs.
Yes.
Like when I first got on StreamYard, it was like $11 a month, and now it's like 50.
Yes. What the
and
man?
Basically, it goes up by like $10 a month every year.
Yep.
So I canceled my StreamYard. I'm probably going to go with Riverside when I start doing interviews
I see a lot
again.
of people using Riverside.
Yeah, it's like half the price, does all the same stuff. And that's the thing about StreamYard. I don't mind if you're going to bump if you had the basic plan and then you had like the pro plan or whatever, that'd be cool. But the basic plan kind of went away.
It went away. Yes.
And they're like, no, you have to pay the mid-range thing or up.
Man.
And then they took the mid-range thing and they just kept hiking the price of it and have yet to add a single new feature that I've noticed.
Yep. They've been killing my pocket for no reason.
It's doing the same thing.
Man.
So I don't know. I'm done with StreamYard. I mean, if you have it and you use it and you don't mind paying a cell phone bill every month to use it, go right
that's
ahead.
What it is.
But we have other options now. There's Riverside. There was like 3 of them that I was looking at the other day. I can't remember them. But just do a Google search for StreamYard alternatives, and you're going to see like a half dozen. And when you look at them, they all look like StreamYard, but with a different logo and a fraction of the cost. So check those out. Ask some people. Get on YouTube. See what they're like. Because people have done reviews of all of them. Yeah. Again, that's what YouTube is for. So that's the software part.
Man. Okay, let me ask you this, right? So the majority of the videos on my content have been unedited, no production quality aspect. It's just me sitting in front of a camera. After I get finished recording, upload to YouTube. For the first time, literally for the first time, I did a pre-recorded video that went through a production process. So it went through post-production, has cuts, has zooms, and all of those things. That video is performing extremely well in comparison to all of my other videos. So I'm curious to know, what's your opinion on raw video versus edited production quality video?
I think they both have their place. Like when it comes to interviews will always do better when they're live.
Beautiful.
Look, if you record an interview and then you drop it at some random point, you're going to gradually get a bunch of views on it. But when you're doing it live and people can get in there and like interact in the chat, it's like a football game. Who actually, like, everyone's, I'm going to TiVo the game. Has anyone ever actually gone back and watched those? Like in history, has anyone ever recorded a football game and gone back and actually watched it? I doubt that's ever happened. I'd be more convinced if you told me that you shot a unicorn than if you said you knew someone who actually went back and watched a sporting event after it had occurred. That doesn't happen. You do an interview with someone, you bring on a guest, an author, an expert, or whatever, and you do an interview and you do it live, you're going to get a lot of views during that. You're going to still get some the next day and the next day and the next day. But if you compare that, what you get during the 1-hour interview to how many views you get in the entire first 2 days of dropping an interview, it's going to be about the same. You'll get like the same in the first hour as you will from a couple of days. So if it's an interview, do it live, do it raw, get the thing out there, throw those super chats up there on the screen. You get that engagement. People, at least normies. I don't really feel this way, but I'm autistic. I don't represent most of the people out there. They get the sense of community. They feel like they are part of the crowd and the interview and the host and everything. They feel that they're a part of that if they're watching it live and participating in the chat. And, oh, look, my comment popped up on the screen. Yep. And they get these warm and fuzzies inside. I don't get that. I show up and do stuff like that because it keeps, Dragons and Genesis in the minds of people out there, and then people say, "Hey, I need to get that guy on my show. I remember him. He's the one who prattles about monsters in the Bible." That's the majority of the reason I engage so much in these shows. Unless it's a show I actually want to learn something from. And that's I don't feel like a part of the community, but I'm weird like that. So when it comes to that, definitely do some live stuff. But if you're recording something and you're doing, you're editing the stuff and you're really cranking up the production value, if it's not an interview, then you're going to probably, if it's more like a presentation, it's probably going to do better as a pre-recorded, highly produced thing. Yeah. So that's how I feel about it. That's the pattern I've been seeing. Presentation stuff, record it, edit the thing, throw it out there. Interviews, do them live. Now, if you do an interview, though, and there's another thing. If you do an interview, let's say it's an hour long. You ask a person a question, they give you an answer. You just made a 5-minute clip. When you're done, you take that video and you chop it up into 10 or 15 little pieces, and you drop those over the next couple of weeks as individual things. This person talking about this, drop it out. That's a video. It's going to keep your channel up in the algorithm constantly because you're more active, more people are seeing these things. Yep. So not only do you get all the watch time from this 1-hour interview, especially all the live views that you get, but every question and answer can be its own short video, and you get pre-recorded, edited content from that. That's free content that you're getting here. So interview a person, run the thing live, and then chop all the little bits out of it and throw them out as separate videos every 2 to 3 days. Drop one for the next few weeks. And so you're constantly your watch hours are going up, your interactions are going up, you're reaching more people, you're getting more subscribers, and you're doing it for free.
Yep.
So now we did the audio stuff. We gotta talk about the video stuff.
Yes, let's get into it, man.
So like I said, room matters more than microphone. Mm-hmm. Lighting matters more than camera. The lighting takes your image to a whole different level. Now, if you look at throw me up full screen real quick.
Yes.
Okay, so if you look at me, you'd say, okay, this is a decent looking image. There's a bunch of different things going on here. If you look, the lighting on my face is not even. It's more dynamic. You've got more light on this side and more shadow on this side.
Yes.
But you've also got shadow back here.
Here, yes.
And some light over here.
Holy shit, I didn't see that until you just pointed it out.
Look on the underside of these things. You say it's almost like a little highlight.
Yes.
On the undersides of these panels. That's what's cool about these little beveled acoustic tiles. What you're seeing, there are 3 different lights here. So what I'm gonna get rid of these lights, and then we're going to turn them on one at a time, and I'm going to explain each one of them. Okay,
Yes,
so let
let's
me get
do
these
it.
off, and so you can see what's going on. Okay.
Wow.
All right, so now the only light is coming off of the screen. Okay, so it probably looks bad. So let's get some light in here. So first, this is the key light. This is the main light that's illuminating most of your face. So, okay, you can see my face, right?
Yep.
But it looks really bad. Like the whole left side of my face is in shadow. Okay? You got these really harsh shadows.
Yeah.
Everything behind me is really dark. So this needs work, obviously. But the key light is doing its job. It's illuminating my face so you can see me and the camera can focus, okay? And that's the purpose, is to get light on the subject. And what you want to do is, wherever you're going to be facing, you want to rotate out a little bit, not quite 45 degrees, and you want to throw a light over there. Yeah. Now, most people have it a little bit above eye level, so it kind of shines down. So you could have it like mounted up on the ceiling and angled, down and towards your face. So that's the key light, and it's going to be the brightest light in the room, and its job is to illuminate your face. But I've got all these harsh shadows over here. Okay? You got to fill those in. So what you do is you introduce a fill light. A fill light is basically the same thing as a key light, only dimmer. And mine, it's a 2-pack of these LED panels, and they're adjustable. When I first turn them on, they're the same intensity, and then I just click the up or down buttons to get them where I want them. So let's get the fill light in. Okay, now those shadows are reduced. They're still there.
Yes.
Like you can still see this shadow right here on my face cast by the key light, but it's softer now.
Yes.
And so my face is illuminated. So it's not like those ring lights that people use for makeup tutorials.
Yeah.
It's more dynamic. You've got a light side and you've got a darker side. Okay, cool. But you need to separate me from the background. Mm-hmm. And also, if it's like this, it just kind of looks dark. Like, just look at the screen. Everything, it looks like I'm inside of a cave or an interrogation room or something, right? Now, the light I have back here is just this little directional lamp that I bought at Walmart and I bolted to the wall. But watch how much of a difference it makes when I click that on.
Man.
It's just this cool little thing that gives the room more dimension. It separates me from the background. It makes these cool little outlines on the beveled edges of the things. It just makes the whole room more interesting. And if you don't think so, look at the change. It matters. You can't, the light doesn't shine on me at all. But when you turn it on, it illuminates the painting back here, which is The Ancient of Days by Robert Blake. Ooh. It illuminates the acoustic tiles. You get this little 3-dimensional thing kicking. It separates me from the background. It brightens up the room a little bit. And it just makes the whole thing more interesting. The 2 adjustable lights, I think I paid like $30 on Amazon for the pair of them. They plug into a single USB adapter. And then I think it was about $10 for the little lamp that's behind me that's attached to the wall. It's just like a little spotlight sort of lamp that, that's all it is. It just plugs into the wall. So just with those 3 things, you get this nice, interesting lighting that it doesn't make me look weird or, really dramatic, but it looks good.
Yeah.
And it makes it look interesting. It makes it look more dynamic. And it prevents the image from being flat. So don't get things like the big ring lights. Don't use one big bright light. Get a few different lights and move them around. Play with them. Do some searches on YouTube about how to do dynamic lighting in for a studio. And you're going to see they're going to be talking about using 3 different lights like this: a key light, a fill light, and then something for the background.
Yes.
And doing that, it'll make the image a lot better. And so just like acoustic tiles and soundproofing will make your room sound better so that your microphone can pick it up, interesting lighting will make your image look better so that your camera has something good to pick up. Because $1,000 camera will produce a bad image if you have a bad visual. Man. Because all it can do is pick up what's there. And yeah, you can do some little tweaks. You can make some adjustments. But if you're poorly lit, you've got a bad picture. Ask a photographer if lighting is important, and they will tell you, yes, you have to learn. A photographer's job is to paint the subject with light, and then they take out the camera.
Wow.
You have to have the lighting right, okay? And if you don't, you got a bad image. And it doesn't matter what camera you buy, you have a bad image.
Oh, man.
And then after that, what you want to do is, if possible, try to separate yourself from the background. Try to have it so that the distance between you and the camera is half the distance between you and the background. Now, I can't really do that because this is a small recording space. Yeah. And when I built this, I wasn't even going to have a camera in here. Our good friend Chris Mallard peer pressured me into starting a YouTube channel. It's that bastard's fault.
That's awesome.
I still need to send him a bill.
Right.
When I first set this up, there was no camera involved. There was no lighting in here. There was a desk lamp, and that's it. Because it was an audio show. There was no need for cameras or lights or anything else. So that's what you do. Get a little closer to the camera, put your background further away. And what's going to happen is, like if you look at mine, my background is not in focus.
Yeah.
So I'm separated from the background.
Yes.
The background, it's blurry back here.
Oh, yes.
I'm in focus, the background isn't. And this background, this is like a foot away. That makes a huge, 1 foot makes a huge difference. Like I can touch everything that you can see. It's literally right here. Man. Like I said, this whole space is only 3 feet wide and 4 feet long. It's a broom closet. But separating yourself from the background by being in focus while your background isn't, it does something, and people don't even notice it, but subconsciously they acknowledge it.
Yes.
If it were different, you would notice it then.
Yeah.
So, it's like bad audio. You don't really notice it if it's just a little bit off until you get it clean, and then you're like, oh, that audio was kind of bad, wasn't it?
It was horrible, right?
Yeah. So,
oh man,
try to separate yourself from your background. Use some lighting back there, and get yourself away from that backdrop if possible. Yeah. So if you're in a room, like if you have a whole room to work with, you want your camera almost up against the wall, and you're right in front of it, and then you have the whole room behind you. And there's this guy named Tom Buck. Look him up on YouTube. Tom Buck. This dude, he does like video and audio stuff professionally, and he has this amazing setup, and he has this entire room. He's probably got like a dozen lights in his room, and you don't notice all the different lights, but he actually did a video where he goes through and he like turns them all on and off and stuff. But he has this amazing setup, and his camera is right next to a closet door, and then he has his desk right in front of that, and then the whole room behind him. So there's probably 8 feet behind this dude's back. Man. And that's where he records. A lot of people, this is one of the things people do wrong. They'll go and put themselves, they'll back themselves into a corner.
Yep.
And they have their desk, and then they've got their camera right there. And their background is kind of boring because everything's in focus, everything's flat. It seems two-dimensional. Oh, get away from that backdrop if you can. I can't, but if you can, do it. Move yourself closer to the center of the room or all the way to the wall. And here's another thing. If you do that, where the wall is just a couple feet behind your camera, you don't have to do as much acoustic treatment because your voice doesn't have a chance to spread out as much.
Yes.
If your camera is right near the wall, you can hang up one moving blanket behind that camera and you're done. If you're all the way back where your back is against the wall and then the camera's, just a few feet in front of you, you've got 3 walls you've got to tangle with.
Yep.
No, don't do it that way. Move that thing over. And you'll get a cooler looking backdrop. You'll have less acoustic treatment you have to do. You've got more stuff you can play with lighting and decorations and things like that. And you can make your background look cool. Yeah. Without worrying about stringing up panels everywhere. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, that's one of the big things. Another thing you can also do, it's called a hair light, where you've got your key light in front of you to one side, and you've got a fill light on another side, and then you'll have another light above and slightly behind shining on your head.
Yeah.
And it gives, it's like a little silver lining on that storm cloud. And it's one of those things, it's there. And if it's gone, you notice the absence, okay?
Yep.
It's really cool. Now, of course, I don't do it because I got a cue ball, There's a reason it's called a hair light, okay? You don't want the glare bouncing off my head onto the camera, okay? It'll be like a disco ball in here. I don't need that. But if you have hair, consider a hair light and just get a third light that's adjustable. Put it up and slightly behind you. Have it pointed straight down toward the back of your head. And look at it on the screen and adjust it up and down until that little highlight on your hair looks really cool. Yeah. And now you've got another thing that separates you from the background because now you've got this faint highlight on the top of your head, on your hair. And so the dark background will be, distantly behind you. And now you're illuminated. You've got almost like a little halo kicking. It looks really cool. Yes. And if you get on YouTube, you'll find countless examples of these things. And people will show you, here's how you do this. So get some lighting tutorials on YouTube, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And that'll give you a good image for your camera to pick up.
Wow.
So,
wow. Man.
Yeah. And then after that, just make sure your camera's in focus. A lot of people have like microphones and stuff in front of them, or they're moving back and forth. Mm-hmm. And at some point they glance over at their screen and they realize that they're blurry and it's their background that's in or it's their microphone that's in focus. You got this really amazing microphone grill and everyone can see it. It's crisp and sharp and you're all smudged up. No, fix that. They're probably watching on their phone so they don't even notice. But if they are watching on their computer, they're going to notice that. And they're going to be like, hey, man, your camera's out of focus. Fix that. Make sure you're in focus, then go live.
Man. Damn, like Jason, this conversation tonight has been better than expected. So much so, like we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this, man, because there's a lot of good information in here. One of the things that I did want to hit, just so that the audience can see, if y'all know, I have no backfill light, and so if you notice, my camera is focusing on this whole view. So that's what Jason was mentioning, that there's no dynamism here. So this is more 2D than 3D. But if you look at me and then you look back over at Jason's, because he has that backfill light behind him, and because he has his key light and his fill light, is creating this dynamism and like I just recently upgraded my camera and everything, but that's exactly what Jason is talking about tonight. Even though I've upgraded my camera, because my lightings isn't exactly efficient yet. It isn't proficient. It isn't great yet. You can see the clear difference between my view and Jason's view. When you're looking at Jason's view, it looks like you're looking at a production quality type of situation. When you're looking at mine, it's like somebody in front of a camera. That's it. That's all you got so far, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And it's just, like I said, lighting matters more than camera, because you can upgrade your camera and you'll still have the same bad image if you don't have a good image to start with.
Yes.
Now, another thing that we got to cover is microphone usage.
Oh, please, yes.
Okay, look. Now, we're not even talking about actual gear yet. We're just talking about how to use it right.
Yes.
Okay. Now, a lot of people are going to notice that my microphone is turned sideways. Yours is too. Mm-hmm. We're speaking into the sides of our microphones, not the ends.
Yep.
And some people are going to be like, well, hang on. I've literally looked at videos and people are talking into the ends of their microphones. Which is the right way? It depends on the microphone.
Yes.
So, there are primarily two types of microphones: dynamic microphones and condenser microphones. Most condenser microphones are what is called side address microphones, meaning the capsule faces out of the side of the microphone. And so you want the side of the mic pointed at your mouth. Most dynamic microphones are what is called end address microphones, meaning the capsule faces out of the end. And so you have the end pointed at your mouth. So the Audio-Technica AT2020, which is what I'm using, is a condenser mic. And it is a side address, so I speak into the side of the microphone. The Rode Pod mic is a dynamic microphone, and you speak into the end of it. Now, not all dynamic microphones are end address, and not all condenser microphones are side address, but most of them are. One of the biggest mistakes that I see in people's setups involves this microphone right here, the most popular microphone for YouTubers. The Blue Yeti.
The Blue Yeti, yes.
The amount of times I've seen people with their microphone pointed at their mouth like this is probably about a third of them. This is not an end address microphone. This is a side address microphone. Specifically, the side with the blue logo. You want that facing you. The amount of people I've seen with their microphone pointed like this, where the blue logo is facing the camera, is probably another third of them. They're talking into the back of the microphone. It gives a really airy sound quality because your sound passes up the microphone, hits the wall, and comes back. Then it really gets to the sensor. No. You want it turned towards you, okay?
Man.
If you have a Blue Yeti, I mean, if you've already purchased equipment, you probably bought this microphone. You want this logo pointed at your face because you want to be talking into this part of the microphone, not this part. So the proper way to use one of these microphones is to have it facing your mouth like this and to be about a foot away. This mic does really well at a variety of distances. Of course, it'll be louder the closer you get. Once you get inside of a foot, it starts to get this proximity effect. It gives you that really weird broadcaster sort of vibe. So I would keep it maybe about a foot away. And that'll bring us to the next thing, which is microphone technique. A lot of people make the mistake of putting the microphone directly in front of their mouth.
Yeah.
If you notice, mine is about 45 degrees off axis.
I was peeping that. I've moved mine since we've started because of that.
Because see, the microphone, it doesn't care. It's the side of it, because it's a side address, is pointing right at my face.
Yes.
And so if it's right here, or right here, or right here, or here, or here, as long as that capsule is pointed at my mouth, it doesn't matter. What does matter are the plosives. the P and the D and the B sounds. You get this puff of air. And whenever I talk, that puff of air goes right through here, not into the microphone, because it's off axis. And I keep hitting the thing. Sorry about that. So if you've got your mic, get the part that you're supposed to address pointed right at your face, and then don't just slide it over, rotate it over, because you still want it facing you, okay? Yeah. So if you slide it over like this, it's now facing back here over my shoulder. You still want it pointed at you, okay? So it's going to orbit, think of the moon. The face of it is always pointed at the earth. Orbit that sucker around a little bit, and you're good. Okay, now,
wow.
If you have something like a Rode Pod mic or a Shure SM7B, those microphones are end-address microphones. Again, point it at your face, through the end of it, and don't have it right here, rotate it. Or you could have it, kind of down. A lot of people like that because it kind of gets it out of the frame. Yeah. If you look straight down, it's pointed up at their face. But it's, it's down, it's out of view, and the plosive, that puff of air, is going over it.
That's good, yeah.
And another thing to do is also just kind of be mindful of those sounds. Over the past decade, I've gotten to the point where I kind of under-enunciate them. So whenever I say, like pizza.
Yeah. Yes.
I say, if you pay attention, you can kind of catch it. I don't go pizza. I go pizza. It's a subtle difference. There's less air. It doesn't do that loud pop. Man. Because I soften it slightly. And I did that by getting right up on the microphone. And I didn't have the windscreen on here, the pop filter is what this is called. I didn't have this little thing on here. And I turned the volume of my microphone way up, and I just started making like the P and B and D sounds over and over again, and trained myself to not do that sound, because when it's coming back in your ear and it goes poof, poof, it gets annoying. And so I did that. And, Peter Piper, and you would do that over and over and over again, and trying to under-enunciate it until you could do it without it clipping. Clipping is when if you actually look at the little sound wave on your computer, is when it goes way up and that little green spike turns red. It goes yellow and then it goes red. That means you're bottoming out the diaphragm on that microphone. It makes this really distorted sound, and there's no way to fix it. You have to re-record it. Wow. You don't want to do that. And plosives are one of the biggest things to do that. And so you just kind of train yourself to do that. And another thing is to project your voice. That doesn't mean to shout. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to pretend that you're sitting in your chair, and you want to pretend that the person you're actually talking to is about 10 feet away. They're not right here. They're 10 feet away. And what will happen is your voice is going to come through really loud and clear, so you'll need to turn your gain down a little. The gain is how much signal you're getting, okay? You're going to want to dial that down a little bit to get a nice happy medium, so when you listen to it back again, it doesn't blow your eardrums out. So you'll turn the gain down a little bit so the microphone doesn't pick up quite as much. And since you're projecting your voice and the gain is turned down a bit, the only thing your mic can hear is your voice. Wow. So as good as you do on that soundproofing, you're still going to have some noises that get into your room. But because you're projecting and your voice is filling the room, and the gain has to be turned down a little bit to compensate for that, it can't pick up those other noises. Wow. Like, there are other things I can hear. I can hear an air conditioning vent right now. But you can't. Yes. Because my gain is turned down too much for you to hear it. How can you still hear me? Because I'm talking a little louder than I normally would. If you were sitting in the room with me, I'd be talking about 25% quieter. Yeah. But I project my voice when I sit in this chair because that's the habit I've developed. And that's just what you do. That's how you do this. You project your voice. You angle the microphone. You shift it off axis a little bit. You project past it. You avoid plosive. You under-enunciate certain letters so that it doesn't cause a problem. And then it all sounds really good.
Yes.
And you also, dude, I'm autistic. I love to fidget and I move around a lot. I try to stay still, which aggravates me because I don't want my face to be out of focus. I'm not going to be moving all around here and swinging in my chair.
It's hard.
Ask Derek Lambert. I was over at his house one day and we were shooting videos for like 7 or 8 hours. Man. And every now and then he would just give me a signal to stop moving because I was like doing this in my chair and just swinging around. He's like, what are you doing?
I'm sure you've seen me the whole time, man.
And I'm like, sorry. And I'm like trying to pick my feet up off the floor to not swing around. It was really difficult because I wasn't used to being on camera. I'd never really done it before. So try to sit still. And also, if you're in one spot, then you're in the right spot for your microphone. If you're moving around, over here, your voice doesn't sound as good, and then you're over, sit still. Get the right distance, okay? Don't be moving around a bunch.
Man.
So yeah.
Well, Jason, man, this has been freaking incredible. I hate that I have to jump tonight because I honestly think we could have went on for another hour or two. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at some of the comments, and this is absolutely information that people are vibing with and feel like they need it. And just in a lot of ways, I know this is information that's been incredible helpful for me. Like I know I can go to my local U-Haul and get some moving blankets this week because that is easy to do, But as we wrap it up, I do want to give you the final word, which is just kind of one of those things that I do love to do. So if you would give our audience just what's the big takeaway for those people who are getting started with content creation and are wanting to take their content to that next level?
If you're just getting started and you haven't made any purchases yet, don't. I've got links down below. None of them are affiliate links. I wouldn't be like, hey, Lamar, why don't you just put a bunch of affiliate links for me so I can steal money from your dudes? I ain't going to do that to you, Darante. These are all things that I would recommend, things that I have personal experience with. Another thing I would say is if you haven't already purchased gear, don't buy this microphone. If you already have it, use it and use it correctly. But if you haven't, this microphone is about $40 more expensive than the one I upgraded to. I upgraded to a cheaper microphone.
Wow.
And down below is a link to a microphone that you can pick up today on Amazon that costs $15 and will get you better sound quality than this one that is 10 times the price.
Man.
Great build quality on the Blue Yeti. I will never knock that. But the preamp in there is kind of garbage, and the capsules are worse. You can get better sound quality for a fraction of the cost. Blue does not have a good microphone. There's not a single microphone they make that is worth the cost. The Snowball is probably the closest because it's the cheapest. The Behringer XM 8500 or 1500, I've got a link to it down below. You can pick them up on Amazon or Sweetwater for $15. Actually, I think it's like $13.90. Okay,
that's a Behringer for $13.
Yeah,
holy snap! Yes,
it's a dynamic microphone. It's like $13.90 on Sweetwater.com. B&H Photo has the exact same thing. Amazon has a similar one. It's the 85A. It's slightly different. You get that and Behringer, I think UM2 audio interface for about like $40, and you're all set. And if you ever want to upgrade your microphone to something better, you can plug it right into that same audio interface.
That's
And you know that skips the bad preamps that are in most USB microphones. If you want a USB microphone, get the Samson Q2U. It's like $65. Sounds way better than anything Blue has ever made. And you can also plug it into an audio interface and use it as an XLR mic. Yeah, just we got to get back on here one day and just talk about gear, because that's the thing that people also want. We could definitely do that. And we can go over all kind of stuff.
You know what? Like, honestly,
but there's a shopping list down below with options on some different things. Avoid those boom arms that have the springs on the outside, because if you ever move it, that spring goes and your microphone's going to pick that one up.
Yep. Oh, yes.
I've got a cheap option down below that has it all is just done by tension. It doesn't have all these big external springs and stuff. The acoustic tiles, even the big mural ones, links on those. I've got 2-3 different microphones, several cameras, audio interfaces, all of that stuff. You know, cameras going from like $30 up to $700 or $800. You know, take your pick. It's all linked down below, and I've got personal experience with the vast majority of this stuff, and the stuff I haven't personally used is stuff from like well-respected brands. Like maybe I haven't used this specific Sony camera, but I've used similar stuff like that.
Man.
So,
well, I know for sure when we get you back for a part 2 on this, we're definitely going to have to talk about gear, and we're going to have to talk about settings. Because we get, like, again, I just upgraded my mic and my camera, and I'm sure several of you realize that for several videos, my video was dark. I had the same lighting setup. I just had a different camera, and I didn't go into the camera settings to actually increase the brightness. So that's going to be some incredible stuff. Jason, I can't thank you enough for being here tonight, man. We will schedule some time to come back for this, because I feel like there's so much more to this conversation. For those of you who are watching, make sure you go support Jason's work and what he's doing. We do have all of those links that he mentioned in the description. He sent them to me, and so I put them in there. So they are there available for you. And now I realize they're available for me too. So I'm going to have to go back in there too. But again, Jason, thank you for being here with us tonight. Everybody else as well, thank you all. I appreciate you. I hate to rush. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here, because I got to go. In less than 15 minutes, I'll be on the line with Forrest Valkai, which will be my first time. I'm a little nervous. I hope he doesn't violate me too much. So we'll see how this goes. But no, I really want to know what y'all thought about this conversation, not just in the chat. We need to see that thing in the comments. What did y'all think about these types of conversations? Because y'all know one of the things that I'm pretty damn adamant about around here is that, yes, we're building community, and that community isn't around the fact that we're just atheists. Atheist just defines one thing about us, and it doesn't even define all of us the same way equilaterally. And I don't even know if that's the word that I want to use, but it's the word that I'm using. But the big point is there are so many other things that we are interested in. There are so many other things that we are trying to do. And so conversations like this are absolutely beautiful to me. And I hope that this was helpful for you all. And if it was, would you let us know in the comments and share this shit? That's the easiest way you can let us know, is to share this. And Jason just said, listen, if you have the Blue Yeti, use it. Just make sure you use it right. And I mean, like, I feel like there's some jokes there, but I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone. But thank y'all so much for hanging out with us this evening. I'll catch y'all in a few over on the line. Until next time, man, y'all stay progressive, keep rising, be the bridge. And one of the things that I like to say is stay beautiful if you can. And we'll holler at y'all later.
Ladies and gentlemen and all the other genders, let me tell you how it's about to go. As we begin again, I'm probably about to sin again, but that's something that you should all know. Release your inhibitions, go on to give yourself permission, time for us to see what you got. Welcome to the kitchen, cooking on the superstition, don't you know the kitchen is hot? And we'll be having good times if you come into the session tonight. You're on the top of my mind, if you come and then we're doing it right. No need to follow, if you're tripping then you're falling behind. Hey, don't worry, we got you.